Alrighty. So now that we've gone through the laws of communication, we've talked about culture. I want to go back to the case study one more time, and this is basically what we're going to do, and we are done this course. We are very fortunate. We also got to finish a class early, which is great. And I want to thank you guys for the discussion points and what we were able to talk about because it allowed us to do that. The most important thing is in the end that we understand that two things: culture can affect the youth, right? And we need to figure out how to get through this culture to bring that Christ-centered culture or the kingdom culture that we talked about very early on. And then when it comes to that communication, it's how are we going to communicate the kingdom culture to them. So back to the three different friends who are in grade 11, and since this is a smaller group and this is going to be a little bit more of a bigger case study, we'll go one by one and we'll all do it together. So if you guys want to join together, we'll start with the high achiever. All right. Using what we've learned, how can we teach this ultra achiever a topic? So I'm going to give you guys, since we've been talking about homosexuality, I want us to talk first about homosexuality. Based on the culture, what is an appropriate way of bringing it up to them? We're going to talk about preparing a lesson. We're not going to actually go into a full detailed lesson, but what I'd like to see from you guys is what kind of title would I use for him? What kind of intro would probably be best? And what kind of conclusion would I want, right? So how would I prepare and how do I make it engaging? Based on the law of structure, substance, stickability, setting, and speech, right? And based on all the laws of communication, what is the best way to present this topic to them, right? And just let's go from there. And we'll start with the first person. We'll give us 10 minutes, go through it, and then we'll go into the next person. So yeah, if you guys just want to combine, join together. And like I said, so first, the topic that I want us to do, and I'll try different topics for each person, but homosexuality will be the first one. So how do I bring this up? What kind of conversation do I want to have? What kind of lesson do I want to give? All right? Go ahead. Is there anybody on here? No. I'm okay. We're good. I remember the kind of culture that he's been influenced by or possibly influenced by. So how do I make sure that I can tell him what the kingdom culture truly is and how I can make sure that he can, we'll say, understand the information and best accept it. Again, no guarantees that they'll accept it, but best accept it.
Sorry, I'm confused. Is it about kingdom culture or homosexuality?
No, it's about homosexuality. I'm just saying how do I bring the truth to him? So the kingdom culture, if you remember in the first book, we talked about the kingdom culture is the absolute truth. Yeah. All right, so go for it. But now you're gonna get all three. You're gonna get all three this time.
I never chose it actually. Blame him.
Blame me. It's all my fault.
Again, because we don't really know what the type here is over there. I think. Had to be normal because insurance is.
No, I was also just going to mention with the ultra competitive guy, he enjoys social settings, so he also wants to make sure he stays socially acceptable. So just remember that.
So like our tagline or our what the
Title,
not title, but the other one.
the statement of intent.
Statement of intent would be God loves us and loves us. Then you can bring a quote from the Bible where it says, like love your neighbor as yourself. Now you have your statement of intent, your support.
anything between the other.
Something like Jesus loves everyone. Jesus loves to educate you, whatever. Like
Mhm.
people like it's more about the person that Jesus loves everyone.
Okay.
It's more of that Jesus and the kingdom
So,
accepts everyone, but not the same.
so that was more of the statement of intent.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he made a good point. Like it's good to actually do this role. It's good like this is so competitive. You want to come out of the top. Use the statement of intent as the title. And I agree with that. It's like the statement of intent would probably be maybe an extra couple of words, but the idea is to help them from right.
Statement of intent.
We can even, if you want to differentiate them, make the title a question.
Yeah.
Does Jesus love LGBTQ?
Yeah.
Then make the statement.
Okay.
You want it to be deep right at the get-go.
Very good.
Just get it going.
Okay. And then when we were talking about just kind of the intro, how are you going to start introducing this topic?
There's a good point about like being concerned that like, a more in-depth history of how did we come to today, or the struggles that the
Mhm.
community faced, how they were discriminated against. That's not right. That's not
Mhm.
right to discriminate against anybody, and how
Mhm.
over time it's become maybe a little bit too over normalized. Share some of the data through how many people
Mhm.
identify as X versus how many people used to
Mhm.
identify as and then kind of
So,
begin to lead them in towards like, hey,
Mhm.
maybe this is becoming over normalized.
so I really like that, especially for that specific
Yeah.
person. I think that would really speak volumes to them. I think that would help them a lot when it comes to understanding. So again, playing devil's advocate, and I'm just gonna kind of really pick on that social setting, how they enjoy being or they want to be accepted by others, right? Because that puts a big, we'll say, Achilles heel in this person, and he might know it's what's right and what's wrong, but that doesn't mean that that's what he's gonna follow through with. When I say follow through, is it's not necessarily saying he's gonna be gay next day or anything like that, but it's to understand that like this is wrong, and I need to, you know, make sure that if I'm put in a situation where I need to say, you know, someone says you have to support us gay people or whatnot, and the person wants to be accepted by others, he might try to shy away from it or something. How would I have a conversation with him about it? Or how would I bring that up for this person? Because it's gonna be very hard for him to, you know, say put in a logical perspective where it's like, I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate who you are as a person. Like you're saying, you know, we love the person, but I don't necessarily agree with that lifestyle choice or something. So how would you bring that point to them, or how would you explain that point to that person? This is gonna be because I really like how you guys mentioned the facts. I think that's gonna speak volumes to the person. I'm just wondering how you would go about to have that conversation, because I think that's something that they probably struggle the most with homosexuality, because they might know already it's wrong, you know.
The problem.
But how do they? Yeah, how if I don't want to say confronting, because they might not necessarily want to confront the problem, but if they're confronted by the problem,
When they're confronted, they don't shy away.
Maybe similar to what Jesus has done in the past, like whenever he had seen sinners,
Mhm.
he would accept them as persons, but he never accepted the sin.
Mhm.
He was like, he would never say, yeah, the sin is good thing. Actually, on the other side, in his sermons, like while he's preaching, like he would always say the sin is wrong, and the sin, like you can't sin and go
Mhm.
like to heaven. But on the other hand, he would accept them, he would eat with them, go to their homes,
Mhm.
which means yes, accept the people, live with them,
Mhm.
but don't necessarily say whatever they are doing is correct.
And you can bring the story of the woman that knows about the stone,
Mhm.
the woman, and how
Yeah.
all of them like without any kind of perfect, like you would know the person for the first stone,
Mhm.
like something like that. And then he goes to her and he doesn't tell her if you go back to
Continue your life.
He's like, go back to
Sin no more.
no more, right?
Mhm.
So even though he's still sort of love, he's not telling her to go and be a prostitute.
I think it's very important. That's a very good example for that experiential learning kind of aspect that we were talking about, where you know you're bringing a real example to them, and it shows that love. Like you're right, that's absolutely. He picked her up. He tells her, you know, sin no more. He's specifically showing her rights, because technically she doesn't have any rights at that point in the Jewish culture.
Yeah,
She should be killed. That's it. It's done, right? And he's actually showing her more than what was expected. So that's a very good point.
So being humane to
Mhm.
the sinners is important.
Mhm.
Understand what they are going through, support them in whatever challenges in their life, but never say that the sin
It's
is
okay.
the right answer.
I think the biggest problem here really is the courage to say. So
The
there might
courage,
be
yeah.
100% convinced with everything you say. You know, I don't think it's like I don't know. I
No,
shouldn't say
right.
that, but a lot of the like kids go to church today. They
Mhm.
probably are convinced with everything we're about to say, or
Mhm.
we mentioned here. It's just a matter of give them the courage to to say it in a politically correct way.
Mhm.
Because that's really where the problem is today. Is how would you say to somebody, like to a kid like this in school, like, no, I'm sorry, but I don't think what you're doing is right, or what you're doing is not, doesn't line up with my culture.
So,
This is the biggest challenge today.
so and that really is such a struggle right now. I think that's for that person probably the biggest struggle. It's how do I have the courage to speak out about this and still be accepted by others? So I have a question for you all then. In that case, how can I make him feel accepted while believing in the truth?
I think somebody like this would benefit from being able to be the one asking the questions. So, because they're going out and asking like their gay friends, like, tell me more, tell me about that, then having that discussion, it would be a little bit easier for that person. Because when when you share your opinion with somebody versus engage them in dialogue, it's two different things. You can build more social equity by just asking people and just listening.
Okay.
I think that's like that would be maybe a piece of advice I'd offer this people like, hey, just go out and ask your friends, like, hey, why do you think this is? Do you think what do you think of this? Like, do you think it's wrong to believe that it's a sin, but still love the person, for example? And like to tell you what is a sin, it's like, well, it's something that you think it's not okay, but you still do it, and God still loves it, for example. And if you do it, that's your choice, but. I don't know. I think asking questions of and this is part a lot of people aren't allowed to. You're not allowed to have dialogue. Like you have to accept this as doctrine and not question it. But when you ask questions, I think find common ground.
If you have the relationship with like the personal relationship with like a classmate or whatever, you probably have the social settings that allow you to ask the question. I think the problem is not necessarily going to be the kid in this case, because if you look at Egyptian parents, not the kids themselves, they probably are telling the kids, "Oh, there's a gay kid in the class, just don't touch them, don't deal with them, don't interact with them."
You might catch the game.
Might catch the gay bug, right? So once you start asking these questions, you're probably going to get a phone call from our parents, right? So
Do you think by making them realize that the acceptance can come from other places that might help? So maybe they're wanting to be accepted by others. So this person specifically, I know they lived in a area that wasn't filled with Coptic Christians. Most of it was people from outside the church, but they had their Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where they go to church and everyone's the same culture, same belief system. So do you think reassuring them that it's like, we are different, that's okay, but you also have acceptance from your church. Like that's the real acceptance that we're trying to get to. Fill the void, exactly. What do you think of that? Do you think that would help?
Is our culture cool though? It wants a cool culture.
He does.
And like, I do agree with you. I think if you engross a kid like this in like ancient mythology and church teachings and stuff like that, they might find it fascinating. For example, just learning about Egypt over 70,000 years of history would allow you to accept the Coptic Church because we didn't just start 2,000 years ago. We have a said last week.
Yeah.
A lot of our practices actually are rooted in Egyptian mythology, right? Even like having like incense and stuff like that. So, and it was adopted into Christianity. So you could begin to create the love by history, for example, and showing how we've been so successful.
I just want to make one slight thing about the incense. That actually is Christian culture specific. It's just we also as priests in the ancient Egyptians would do it too, but that was something that, as you know, the Judeo-Jewish culture, like even in biblical, they always had like incense. That was a type of thing. So that's not Coptic culture. But I know what you mean. But I know what you mean. I just want to make sure I make a distinction. Yes.
Because the Israelis learned that from the Egyptians when they were in Egypt, right? So like
it certainly has some Egyptian influence because before Moses taught
Mhm.
the Israelites anything in
Mhm.
in the desert, he went up the mountain to
Yeah.
get the Ten Commandments, he came down, and
Mhm.
they already had the,
There-
they
yeah.
had, and they had,
Raising their
yeah.
incense and whatnot.
So
Yeah.
it's that they did learn it from the Egyptians. For sure.
I like your idea, and I think the hook could be like how great
Mhm.
ancient Egypt, Egyptian Coptic church, etc. And you bring that up to show that he has social acceptance with a leading, because they're a front runner, right? They
Mhm.
want to create people who are leaders as opposed to like, boring, before church is boring. So
Mhm.
you want to show the coolness of church. So that you do that.
Also, it might be important to give them some hints that if your beliefs that are correct are not making you popular, maybe that's okay. And Athanasius, at some
Mhm.
point, he was the only one
Yeah.
against the whole world,
The whole world is against
and
them.
that was okay. Now he is accepted. He's
Like that's the hard part though about this kid though. The second kid for sure, because you know like he doesn't need that, but like the first kid is the one that takes the
Sure.
second kid, right? So how do you convince like
I-
that would go perfect with the second kid, but how do you get the first kid also?
it's something they have to work on.
And that's the thing. Not every kid here is perfect, right? So part of our job is also to help them in their weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
So this quite actually is a weakness of this person of wanting to be accepted by others. And you said it very good, where filling a void might help that because, and I always say this, people who are missing Christ in their life, they're always searching for something else to make them happy, and it never satisfies them fully, right? So it's if we're able to bring Christ to this person, right, and help them in their weakness, right, that could fill that void so they're not always seeking that acceptance from others or because I'm accepted by Christ. So I think that's something that we also have to think about when we're doing this. So again, with this case study, obviously, and how do I get them hooked on it and all that, but it's understanding that not everyone here is perfect, and that's something that we are going to work on throughout the journey, we'll say.
Maybe to be a bit Machiavellian.
Yeah.
You could just get number two, teach in your way, and get number two to be the leader for number one.
Honestly.
that would work perfectly. Then the third kid is like
They'll just follow along.
So get the first kid to like have that kid be the leader of the tag.
Mhm.
He's not gonna, as you said, he won't really care. He'd rather just be right, and then have the second kid find him cool and want to hang out with him. And then the third kid can play video games.
There you go.
He just solved the
You
puzzle.
solved the puzzle. Yeah. Just so you know, these three kids were friends growing up, so
Alright.
it actually does work in what you're saying. That if you get one person, the other two might go along. But again, as they grow up, the other thing is obviously everyone's personality starts to show more, and personalities always adapt and change and adjust and yada yada yada. But like I said, I really appreciate how you stuck to points that would be interesting. You put factual things. Again, to be accepted, I like the title where you said it's like Jesus loves the sinner, or does Jesus love LGBTQ? That's a good hook. It's like, what's going on? If we're talking about the hook book, look took, obviously you want to make sure you research some biblical things that show this, that he does love the sinners, we'll say. And then we go into, the took and look and took, right?
He can
Meanwhile, loves the sinners, adulteresses, put it that way. So we talked about the content, we talked about the intro. So actually the intro, how would you guys kind of start it off? We kind of mentioned
That's what I bring in.
bringing the history. Okay, so that's what it was. Okay, so bringing that.
Set the context.
And then the conclusion, how would you kind of end it off? Just kind of summarize things, get them again. Switch the topic to something else, right?
Sorry, we thought. I think like the message, like what you said, like, at the end of the day, we want you to be your own person and like you should still accept everybody, but you shouldn't be waived by what society tells you.
That's great. And I like that because that does relate to the title where it's like, does Jesus Jesus was his own person,
Yeah.
right? But he still loved others, and whatnot.
Kind of had the strength of character. That we've
Strength
been
of
talking
character.
about, how to build that. So hard to do.
And it's very hard. And you know what? Maybe that's where they start to build their character as well, to say, okay, I want to be different like Jesus, where blah, blah, blah.
And I think like if we focus on building strength of character with children, I think that
Mhm.
works a lot better than adopting it.
Absolutely.
Somebody, your own person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that will go a long way, not just with this specific
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah,
It'll go a long way
with everything.
We're
Everything.
not sure what tomorrow will bring
Yeah.
back.
The next new hot topic is going to be
Yeah,
something else. And
just yeah, yeah, it's funny you say that. Again, I don't serve in high school, you know, I don't serve anywhere, but you know, right now I'm very different topic. With like with my own children, I'm teaching them how to drive, and as how to
drive.
drive, just on 16. And one of the things I found, they want to drive fast, like to them.
what?
You know, that's one of the
Crazy.
things you want to do, just like as a kid. And my statement to them has always like has been, a person with a good character controls a car. No character as a car controls you. Right? It's kind of like it's counterintuitive for them because they think because they can drive fast, if they control the car well. I was like, try to spin it in a different way. Slowly, kind of like this is where the empowerment comes from. Like you kind of want to make sure they see beneath the surface, so to speak, right?
Mhm.
And when it comes to character. I'm not sure if I succeed. I'm not pretending I succeeded. I'm just saying, I
You will
tried.
know.
We'll find out next week. Very good. All right. So that was awesome. Thank you guys for that. Now let's go on to the next person. So we have the cool person, the one that's not always worried about being accepted by others, doesn't always care about the meetings, and keep that in mind. I want us to try to talk about why did Jesus have to come down on earth to save us? That's the lesson that we want to talk about. So how do we do that given the information? Okay, I'll let you guys discuss a little bit. So why Jesus? Or why God, we'll say. Why did God have to come down in the form of Jesus? The question is why, what did it have to be God, or why did it have to be Jesus?
Yeah, can be
Another person, or exactly.
okay, so John, tell me when we got in trouble before the. Well, like, imagine that you made a problem, like, insult this person who can't come and save you. It can be another kid in the school. As the, like, you'll say someone who's, like, let's say, that as a friend, some people from. So, and then we go to that. I think it's important. What, like, sorry. Yeah, exactly.
The sitting now is, when you like to make anything like to any of the last two,
That's what people do now. That's it. Yeah. Kind of what we're talking about. Okay, I think I said that. Oh, yeah. We're fine.
honestly think, honestly, I think if explaining things like this is a hard. You know, I look at the story and this book, you're not always really a good experience.
I joined programs. I've never.
Yeah, we never heard of it.
Yeah. Like these stuff is very working hours. How are you? I'm really like. How was I don't say, it's sit once. Then I might end up and then you look and be like, why couldn't they do that? The conclusion here would be big, because this video would have probably lost halfway through anyway. Nail it.
Here for this chapter specifically, it doesn't necessarily focus on what's being said, presenting the lesson in general, like for the open-ended questions. That can maybe keep how they engage further. Maybe a conclusion could be action, like not necessarily an open-ended question, but like more of a okay, like it had to be God to come and save us because everyone is unique. But do you think that, like, yeah, no, I'm trying to think.
You can say, how do you feel now that you know God gave God to you? Then you can point to the kid and ask.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of what you're getting at. That Give them the chance to God. You can say what say even if they didn't listen, they can say what they think.
Okay. So let's hear about this second person. So the title that you guys were mentioning was,
Savior, or why did Jesus come to save us?
so Jesus chose Savior. Why did he
Important to
you?
mention.
Very good. So making it kind of more personal about this one person. That's actually very good. I actually recently heard a song from a Coptic like singer. It's basically saying that it's like, even if you were the only person that was going to be saved, like Jesus still would have come down on the cross and still would have died. And it's like, it's a really nice song, but really speaks to that specific point. So I like that you have that title, kind of focusing on the cool person. It's like the focus is on them.
Which is actually true. Like,
Yeah.
like Jesus, like, came from
Each one of us individually. That's very good. And so we know that they don't usually pay attention. So what kind of intro are you going to be doing to help make sure that they're paying attention when you talk about it? Again, you don't have to have specifics like theology, tell me the dogma, but
something you did at school.
Yeah.
mhm,
So we kind of we want to talk about, hey, like if you find a at school, like,
mhm,
well, we'll actually
Yeah.
point out to the students, figure out like who'd be the best person, come and save you. Your
Yeah.
friend couldn't do it, like your father could do it, or mother could do it. That's like save us, kind of thing. Kind of be more right on the point, just kind of engaging as much as we can.
mhm. Okay, very good.
And talk about that, like the size of the problem
Mhm.
and who can save you as the problem gets bigger. You need a person with more
More
power, more capability, more like a higher
so
social
keep
level.
increasing it.
So, and specifically, like the problem was against school,
Yeah.
and you need someone like if it was against the principal of the school, like you have
Mhm.
someone who is as big as the principal.
That's very good.
And we can talk about the act, like the sin
Yeah.
against God. We have to bring someone as big as God to save us, and it's only God.
Okay, I like that. When it comes to the content, what would you say would be better for him for a length of time, or the appropriate length for someone like this? 10 minutes. Shorter. Shorter than a longer, or maybe less drawn out kind of thing.
He doesn't already focus on anything
Yeah.
being said, so it has to be very short to the point,
Mhm.
and we come to the conclusion as fast as possible.
Yeah. And I think that's very important to note that with this person, because end of the day, and I know we're like this all, where we might not remember the lesson or whatnot, but at least with him, it's if I can get a point across, just one thing, it's like that might make a difference. So that's very important, that the length we have to make sure it's also appropriate for this person.
So I have. Sorry, no, you go first.
I was gonna ask a very general question. Like, I wanna say, like, generally speaking, with Sunday school lessons, I would say they shouldn't be more than 10 minutes. Like,
Keep in mind, I'm talking about like a youth group meeting. This is a grade 11. This is not Sunday school on a Sunday or Saturday, whatever it is. I'm talking about someone's coming on a Friday where the lessons usually are 20 to 30 minutes in general. Like if you ever go to youth group meetings, at least that's what I remember. I could be wrong, but
Yeah, sometimes I feel like there is still some resistance on
mhm,
still ensuring that the lessons
yeah,
are a bit longer, but I honestly feel after 20 minutes you kind of
they use most people. Yeah, well, that's fair.
And even with the younger, that like maybe not the grade 3, 4, but like
Yeah.
maybe 7 and 8, even from Sunday school.
They
not
gets
to exceed
longer.
kind of like the duration allocated to Sunday school is like from 11:45 to 1.
Oh my
But
gosh,
that includes
everything.
it includes prayer, includes like singing a
Yes,
song and stuff like
but
that.
still,
But like
that's a lot
you
of
still
time.
find them at the 20-minute mark.
That's it.
20 minute mark,
They're
and
done.
like,
No, and that makes sense.
I have a question now. We have two speakers.
They're
They
all
are
in
in
one
the
class.
same
Yeah.
class.
So this is where I would say, keeping in mind that you're going to be giving multiple lessons in the year. It's not like you're giving one lesson, and it's, sometimes you might need to personalize it on who needs it more, right? And this is where you get to see. So if you've been seeing the high achiever, they've been paying attention to every class so far this year, maybe let's not focus it on ultra high achiever. Let's focus on the person that needs it more. Like I said, that was always my issue growing up as a servant. I had the good kids. And it's like I always geared my lesson towards the good kids because they were the good kids. But it's like, what about all the other kids that needed this lesson more? Because let's be real, the good kids were getting the information from their parents already. They didn't need me. They didn't need, it was those other ones that needed. Maybe the good kids would have said this is boring, right? But God willing, they were going to go to heaven regardless of me. It's the other kids that needed my support more, right? So I'm not saying to just ignore one group, but we have multiple lessons in a year for a reason, so we can mix it up. So maybe this person for this time, this person for that.
You mix it up, or you kind of like, I'm sure there will be a vast majority of kids are within
In these groups.
categories,
Yeah,
right? So I would give the course or the lesson towards the vast majority, then the other, the
Outliers.
two tail ends, you kind of like give them this individualized sort
Lesson.
of care, if you
Yeah.
will, after the Sunday school. Like it's, I don't think the lesson is the only opportunity.
absolutely, absolutely.
So
Yeah,
No.
kind of like Gaussian distribution.
Yeah.
Kind of like look at the center, like
Get the max number and then.
then the rest of it will come
Mhm.
outside of the class time. Right?
Very good. When you're talking about the style of like the conversation or the style of, we'll say, the speech or the law of the speech, the law of the structure style, with this one, how would it appeal to him the most? We talk about length of time is a little bit shorter, but what about the other aspects?
I think a lot of pausing, a lot of question asking, a lot of animation. A monotone person should not be the first time.
Absolutely.
So you need a lot of animation in both speech and word reviews. As well as question asking. That's a lot of questions together. Get involved.
No, that's very good. And then finally, we were talking about the conclusion. What were you guys saying about the conclusion? Trying to read some of your notes, but
Another good point about asking a question. So we asked him about questions.
how do you feel about it now that you know the thought change?
Yeah. Again, you missed half of it.
so I'll go back to that.
You can just please say what they think.
Yeah.
Because they'll remember, like it'll be that will be the
Mhm.
sticking point. Like they said it, so
Mhm.
they probably value what they say. So they'll
Absolutely.
be like, hey, yeah, we think it's that. That might be a good one for them.
No, that's great. And I think one of the big things with this youth specifically, and you kind of brought it to where that after hours care is very important. So for them, what really connected them, the most with any servant was when they would take them out for a shawarma sandwich or whatever. Like that's when they connected the most with the servants and with whatever the lesson or topic that they wanted to bring about. Like that really helped more than the actual Sunday school class, more than that. And it's funny because what was nice about this person, not being worried about being accepted by others, say an Abuna takes them out for something, let's go out for, and I remember this specifically with this person, an Abuna took them out for wings, right? And this is in high school where it's like you want to look cool and blah, blah, and you have a priest in front of you eating wings with you. You might feel a little self-conscious, but he loved it. It's like, I'm going out for wings with an Abuna. Like, this is awesome, right? Like, that's what really connected him more than anything else. So keeping that in mind, it's, again, like you said, and you really hit it right on, it's sometimes the after school or after Sunday school, after the lesson, those are the things that can really help certain people like that. Okay, last person, more introverted, enjoys playing video games. Topic we want to talk about is dating advice, or not dating advice, appropriateness of dating. I know that's not a, yeah.
Probably not
Are you
even
like
already.
that?
No, but like we'll say appropriate dating. Maybe that's the better term. Appropriate dating. So the right way to date at that age group of high school. Is it appropriate at all? Do we wait?
It will never.
But that's why it's a harder topic. So how do you bring that kind of conversation to them? Just, this person did end up getting married. So
Dating as example. They kind of talk about like what's summarize working like someone's lives, then the example would be dating. They may want to be content that talk about dating. I think that's where they're not, they're not. You know what I mean? So I think it's so appropriate to kind of explain how to actually communicate. That's why they're calling it opposite sex or same sex classroom. So they don't know how to
wait, same-sex classrooms. What do you mean by this?
same sex classroom and then like they all know that.
Oh,
They're not public school.
well, I'm talking about high school. Like I don't know. Really? Okay. I didn't know this. So this group of people, they did not have same-sex classrooms. They had mixed classrooms. Mhm.
That's why I think we dating as employment plus the other person you should interview for the long interview, second date. So I think like there's something that's like you're communicating and people are you, but then also another woman over there, and what they're interested in. So without that foundation of communication, it becomes problematic. I think your point is going to try to do it so that that would be just like I would really think it's like
Still having case studies or speakers that are like older, a bit older, trying to study and who are have different personalities and like or they were a bit similar to them at the time. Like come and just talk about like how they experienced it.
Are we
At the
ready
time.
for the how, or we're trying to kind of like say it's way too early now? Like
So the reason why I asked this question because there's different age groups here, and everybody, unfortunately, we always have our own personal views on things too. So even among this table, you might have a different view of when it's an appropriate time to date for someone else, for someone else, for someone else. So finding out what you guys did. So one of you actually mentioned something I really liked was just talking about communication, right? I think that's very important. I think when we're coming to a topic about, if I know I need to talk about maybe relationship advice and I want to make sure that it's appropriate, I also need to see what's appropriate for me to talk about for, you know, that age group. So maybe talking about communication, then bring in, by the way, if we're going to be talking about, you know, dating when you're ready, because everybody's different. I know people who were dating in high school and are married now, right? And that was within the church, right? And then there's others who took a long time after they finished university, and that's when they felt comfortable. So there's no right or wrong answer to this, and that's why I want to see what you guys would also say towards this.
I think one of the challenges in the Coptic church is like the Egyptian mentality is you can date unless you're like
Getting married.
30, 43 years old. Right?
You date after you're married.
So I think the kids are very like they don't between what they hear at home and what they see
Outside.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think what you do like communication is a good thing. Like we should encourage them to others and be open to the like other sex and like girls or
Absolutely.
the other way around. And that the church is not against that. It's more of don't make commitments that you can't. Like, are you committing to a relationship that's long term? Can you keep that? Are you 100% sure that you can keep that? Is the point. So you always make the commitment when you feel you're ready. You will always feel you're ready, but
it's a long-term
it
thing.
takes time, experience.
I would think that a class like this should be, let's acknowledge the facts that yes, you will have some feeling towards an opposite sex getting along. That's totally fine. That's totally acceptable. What you do about it within the framework of the, you know, children of the church is what the lesson should be geared in my opinion, because we have to accept that I don't think we can argue the fact that they will have feelings for other
They're in
people,
grade 11.
right?
There-
They
it's
will
gonna
have to.
happen.
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
we've all been there. Like, if
Yeah.
we deny it, then you know, I don't think it's gonna be true.
No.
Right? So it's about, I think, if we, you know, the rule of begin with the end of mind, the end of in mind, it's not just to the end of the kid in the class. It's just like for everybody. It's like, okay, if we accept this as a fact, just like Jesus loves the LGBTQ community, you know, we begin with the fact that you will have a crush. Chances are very high, it's not a fact. But how you come about it in general is where the courtship go. With this introvert, I think his problem would be, or her problem would be, he has this feeling, but he had to keep it because he just can't have enough courage to even have the, you know, let this feeling go, you know, kind of release the pressure, if you will. And that's where the communication piece becomes very important. Right? Like, how will you express your feeling, but within the framework of the church, and you don't feel like you're guilty of anything, or you're not shy, whatever it is that you're about to do or share.
That's a good point. And the reason why I brought this topic up as well, and as you guys mentioned earlier, the church, sometimes the Egyptian culture that is kind of intertwined in the church makes it very taboo. And what happens is a lot of these boys think of the opposite sex, or females thinking of the opposite sex as we can't talk to them until or talking to them is something aib or haram, and this, it's like there's nothing wrong with having a conversation with someone that is the opposite sex. And what ends up happening is everything becomes over sexualized, which is also a problem, where it's like talking is like aib, or like it becomes, everything is a problem afterwards when they're growing up. So part of this is having them understand they're a human being, just like how you are a human being. You can have a conversation, and what's the appropriateness of it. So with all this being said, because I know timeline, we're almost finished, what would we say is a title for this topic? How could we kind of introduce this topic?
Um, how to communicate in different settings.
Okay,
And
I
then,
like that.
Yeah, there you go. Talk about communication, like summarize this post for like 5 minutes, and then the sub theme would be dating, talking and dating, or the opposite sex.
Very good. And I like how it was a very non-confrontational title. So it's very like, oh, communication. Oh, I could probably benefit as an introvert. I could benefit from this a lot, right? So you get that hook in. And then, you know, you talk about different topics or different laws of communication. That's great. So that's where you kind of have your content. And then, like you said, you bring back that other stuff. So how about the intro? What would you do to kind of keep them hooked along with the title? Like, do you just start off, these are the laws of communication, or?
I would actually play a game.
Okay, like what?
Like I have the group, you know, you do the
Broken telephone.
thing or
That's
whatever.
great.
A little game where the kid likes to be with his friends, probably
Mhm.
everybody that's not true with his friends. So like a communication based thing.
That's
Go
great.
from there.
And so, see, that's an object lesson. So that's a great way to kind of keep them involved. How about when we talk about, again, the content, when we talk about the book, what would you use from the Bible to try to help support this conversation?
There are many things like
Mhm.
Adam and Eve were created equal, so opposite sex are equal.
Very
and
good.
They are supporting each other,
Very good.
and He's created both of them for a reason.
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, like
Huh?
God created both of them for a reason. Also, like we can show that they're like early on, actually, they were having relationships in a very young age. So it's the problem is not the age, it's how how right now the times are different,
Mhm.
and relationships ask you for lots of things that you can't do unless you're at older ages.
Okay, very good. And I like that, and I like that you used the thing for them to understand that like we are all equal. I think that's something very important. As much as feminism has risen, I think in a lot of ways feminism has also caused more issues sometimes in some situations where, you know, it's almost a battle against each other. It's like we want to have equal rights, but it's not just that. It's we need to put you down as well, so then we're equal, or we're like, you know. So it's very important that we have that common understanding. And I always say true feminism is when there is that equity where it's like everyone understands there's a roles to each person. So if a woman wants to stay at home, that's her choice. If she wants to go to work, that's her choice, right? That's what feminism should be. If not, you have to go to work, you have to make more money than the man. Like, no, that's not feminism. That's pushing towards a specific culture, right? And so it's very important that we also understand that. And when we're talking about communication, specifically in the relationship stage, I think we really need to make sure that all boys and girls understand that, you know, we are equal in the eyes of God, and we need to be able to communicate as equals to each other, right? No matter what our roles are in whatever relationship we have, we have to have that equality. And I like how you used Adam and Eve. It's like they were supporting each other. It wasn't, you know, one is on their own and this one's like just the servant and that's it. It wasn't like that. So
Yeah,
I like that.
and the Ark of Noah.
The Ark of
They
Noah.
were equal number of
Animals,
cells,
yeah.
like and humans.
That's true, actually. This is very true. That's very
Put
good.
a energy back. How do we solve pros? Nobody's ever answered the question.
Because
Uh,
there were more, like there were 7.
But there was something first. I don't know. I thought there were two.
I
I
can't
think
remember
there
this.
were
No.
2 of like the animals, but I think they were like 7.
Okay.
Yeah, what go by there was an animal, I think it was yeah.
So when we talk about that, when we talk about the style or the substance of the topic, how do you guys have that conversation with this person specifically? Like what kinds of things would appeal to him more, make him more engaged? I know you guys mentioned for the object lesson, which I think was a great idea. How about during the content part?
The fact that they value friendship, like the fact they value relationships is good, and that's where you wanna like I think you wanna gear the discussion around is like okay, dating might lead to relationship, like, and you value this relationship, but how will you make this relationship appropriate within the framework of church, or being a child of God? How would you, like, it would be more of a having them express their opinion, then guide the conversation towards what would be appropriate within a church. Like, is you value this relationship? Okay, great. Does that mean you'll be in a one-to-one conversation, or you value the relationship with a specific person, but in a group setting, right? Because at the end of the day, the lesson is only meaningful if it applies to the day-to-day life,
Mhm.
right? So the day-to-day life is they are in school. This topic of dating comes up in a very different context from what we're discussing here.
Yeah,
Right?
no,
And
absolutely.
we need to drive we need to open their mind to what's appropriate and what's not. I don't want to use the word acceptable, but what would be, if you consider yourself, child of God,
Mhm.
how would you behave yourself in, within that, with the understandings that dating, that having feelings or relationship with the opposite sex is expected.
Absolutely. No, and that's so important. And part of our job is really, like you said, it's showing them what a proper relationship is. And I think it's also getting them to accept that God has never made relationships bad. Like, God wants us to have relationships. He wants us to get married. Like, all these things are good. It's the problem is when we perverse what God created for us. And so that's very important. And then in terms of the conclusion for this, how do you conclude this all for the person and keep them going?
We're just
Confirming the
actually 7 animals, so male and female, but 7 animals. So that's
interesting. Okay, there you go.
what Sunday school teacher failed.
There we go. See, should have had him as your Sunday school.
Different Sunday.
So how do we conclude for this topic for this person? How do we summarize it all together for them? And
I would get him to say it back.
okay, what like
Like a feedback. Like, tell me, what you learned from this.
Yeah, I found the question, tell me what you learned, doesn't work as much as, okay, tell me how did this last 20 minutes of conversation will affect how you do things in the future different from before.
Essentially, I want to give
Yeah.
them that time to practice safely how to communicate.
Yeah.
Because this is a
Yeah.
bunch of friends, so I want that
Mhm.
kid to practice communicating.
that's fair.
So yeah, but I mean, I
But sure,
think,
yeah, like we
I
can,
think
we can rephrase
just how we
the
phrase the
question.
question is matters.
So you wouldn't want to leave it as like a summarizing statement. You'd want to more so ask the question. Is that correct?
Because I think the hope would be like you build a lesson that allows the kids to learn how to communicate that more effectively.
Mhm.
So you want to give them also safe space for them to try to practice communicating and doing all that. Like, it's people don't like to present in the classroom, but it's the safest place to present because you only lose marks.
Mhm.
Right? If you go present at work and you do a bad job, you lose the job. At
Yeah.
work, you just get 75%, or at
Mm.
school, you get 75%. So you want
Mhm.
that kid to learn how to practice a little bit without being made fun of by
Mhm.
somebody they don't know, right? Or his friends might make fun of him, but he might just be used to that kind of thing.
Also, we can do like a competition
Okay.
where we have both sex competing.
Mhm.
Not each other, but
Yeah.
with
Mixed
each
mixed
other.
groups.
Yeah. So you can find whether there's ways that you can do the same.
That's true. It's almost forcing them to communicate with each other.
In a
You
way,
can have the
in a
bachelor,
way.
have him be the bachelor, and that'll make him never.
Never come back to church after that. No, but I do like that idea where it's like, so we started off with some kind of game, and we kind of talk about it, and then maybe it's leaving it off with like another competitive game, but something fun just to summarize things. That's like we were talking about communication, appropriate communication with the opposite sex. So well, that works. All right. Thank you guys for this. This was wonderful. I really enjoyed this. You guys won't see me next week, but I hope you guys continue with the course and the program, and you guys will enjoy it a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of great speakers, and I know you guys are gonna do amazing. So
Thank you.
thank you.
So, Piero, are we able to reach back to you?
Absolutely, if you guys want.
In any way?
Yeah, I can give you guys my number right now.